Good morning.
Now, the news with Ben Kinney and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us. I'm Ben Kinney, in for Gary.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2, meteorologist Eric Gage.
A lot to get to this morning, but I think the biggest story of the morning is what's going to be happening overnight tonight into tomorrow. Winter storm warnings already being issued for the northern part of Oneida County.
Yeah, and that will be a main focus for tonight and tomorrow. Those of you wondering when this system does eventually arrive, this will not be a daytime issue. So heading to work today, heading from work today, looking to see no issues on travel. It's a cold start out there right now, too. Let's take a look at those temperatures. It's currently 18 degrees in Rome, but the good part is the winds are nowhere near as strong as yesterday, so those wind chills are not in the single digits. But Saranac Lake, which is in the single digits, way up in the North Country, currently at 4 degrees. And a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar. That stubborn lake effect snow is still sticking around in parts of southern Madison and northern Shenango County. But as the day continues on, it's going to continue to weaken as most of the energy down from the Great Lakes does come to an end. And over the next 12 or so hours, you can see here, it's looking pretty quiet under mostly cloudy skies. Temperatures barely reaching the low 30s. A few light flurries begin to develop right around 6 p.m. onwards, and then we're tracking the potential for some heavy snow mixing in with sleet and freezing rain as we approach the overnight hours. We're going to talk about the timing, potential accumulations, where these zones set up, and explain what we're meaning by the different precipitation types coming up. Ben?
Eric, thank you very much. A months-long investigation by
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Welcome back. Time now for your Munson Commute Cast as you take a look at road conditions both this morning and your commute on the way home from work. First off, let's take a look at those drive conditions. Traffic flow looking pretty okay across the area. And then factoring in the drive speeds and the drive times, you can see the locations from I-90, the arterial, the drive times from 5S and Route 49, and lastly, looking at the drive times of Route 28 and Route 12 going from 790 to Remsen. Those drive times looking pretty average for now because this morning it's looking pretty dry. We've got a calm wind, still a bit cold out there today, but for the most part, no travel impacts expected for your morning commute as well as your evening commute. However, flurries will begin to start around 6 to 8 p.m. Then heavier snow and a wintry mix will begin to move in during the overnight hours. We'll, of course, time it all out, talk about the impacts, and when all this comes to an end, straight ahead. Ben?
Eric, thank you very much. iPhone maker Apple.
From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning. Welcome back. Happy Friday, everyone. We are tracking a dry start to your day today. Overall, a pretty dry day. However, things turn much more unsettled as we approach the overnight hours. Let's take a live look at downtown Utica right now. Roads are dry. Temperatures a bit chilly out there, so bundle up. Currently in the teens at this point. 18 degrees officially, but the winds have calmed, but we got a lot of dry air near the surface. A 5-degree dew point at this early this morning, so it's a very dry, cold air in place. A live look, the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2, a live radar. We can see the stubborn lake effect snow finally beginning to wind down south of Syracuse, and we expect completely dry weather for the start of today. But that will change as we head into tonight and tomorrow. So we have a little bit of an update on our snowfall forecast. And this is, again, one of the most challenging forecasts we can do because we're going to have the mixing line set up directly over central New York. And the difference in heights of a few degrees could make a huge difference in exactly who sees the majority snowfall event. It's trended colder. We brought the rain and snow mix down, and we could bring the blue area down a little more if we get more consistent data later this morning and early this afternoon. But again, just a heads up, this is a forecast that can easily bust. We're being completely transparent with you right here. This is a system that will probably not behave as intended. And this is what I mean by this. We're talking about precipitation types. It all has to do with the thickness of the cold air near the ground. And this is what we'll be experiencing south of Otsego and Chenango County, and this will be up in the North Country. Notice how the cold air gets thinner and thinner as it gets more and more south to the point where you get freezing rain, sleet, and the difference of a few miles here can make all the difference whether you see 6 to 10 inches, 6 to 12 inches of complete snow or sleet mixes in, and you see maybe an icing or little to none. But regardless, here are the impacts expected for today and tomorrow. This morning, this afternoon, this evening, no impacts expected. Overnight, heavy snow, wintry mix arrives, lingering snow tomorrow morning, and we gradually dry out tomorrow afternoon with just some light snow showers sticking around. But to our skycast, heading into tonight, we can see that low pressure move in, initially starting out as snow. Then that warm air surges north, and we start to see a bit of a wintry mix here in the Mohawk Valley, and rain will start to arrive in areas south. Now, following that, the back end of this system will bring in more cold air behind it, a last few inches of accumulation with snowfall, and then the system passes us, and then by Saturday night, we're looking almost entirely dry and a bit chilly with temperatures in the teens. But over the next 12 or so hours, you can see here, dry for today. Snow begins to arrive this evening. Again, light to start. Then it gets a bit more heavy tonight, with heavy snowfall arriving right around midnight, continuing to around 3 to 5 a.m. And then following that, and your 7-day forecast, we dry out on Sunday with highs in the upper 30s, then into the 40s by Monday and Tuesday into the 50s. So this is a temporary cool down, a temporary wintry system. And even though, as you mentioned, there are winter storm warnings in effect for some locations, should be a spring storm warning.
Yeah, it should.
I feel like it's sometimes confusing. We have a winter storm warning in spring.
I mean, it's winter weather.
It is, but you know, it's March. We usually see stuff like this a few years, and you know, we have an April snowstorm a few years ago. It's typical.
You're right. Totally forgot about that. Thank you very much, Eric. Former President Trump has until Monday in Central New York.
Now, the news with Ben Kinney and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Yes, Eric, I did forget what day it was.
Luckily, you had your Apple Watch next to you to look at the date too. But don't worry, I was forgetting the date too as you're reading that as well. So,
all right, I'm not the only one.
But now remember, it is March 22nd. It is a very cold March 22nd. And following today, we are tracking a cold winter storm in some spots, wintry mix in others, and then just rain as you head farther to the south. So we have made it an alert day. Let's take a look at what we're expecting for tonight. A reminder that this is a rain-snow mix tonight and into Saturday. Heavy snow accumulation possible north, and then the snow, rain, and ice is possible in the Mohawk Valley. We are right along that mixing line, right where that system passes over our area. But if you are heading out today, this morning, this afternoon, this evening, this is not going to affect the daytime hours. In fact, you can see here clouds moving in, temperatures in the teens in Rome, and the radar, just a few stubborn lake effect flurries, which should be coming to an end within the span of the next few hours. And over the next 12 or so hours, you can see here, a peak of sunshine this morning giving way to mostly cloudy skies, temperatures climbing into the upper 20s to low 30s. But notice right around 6 p.m., there's a graphic of some light flurries. Light snow begin to arrive this evening and tonight, then pick up to heavier snowfall and a heavier wintry mix right around 10 p.m. over to midnight and the overnight hours. And following that, additional snowfall by Saturday morning. We're going to talk about all that in detail, potential accumulations, and why we're seeing such a weird wintry system straight ahead. Ben?
Eric, thank you very much. By this time tomorrow, parts of
Welcome back, showcasing our weather photo of the day on this final day of the work week. And as we mentioned in the past few days, we are looking at the spring pictures and more closely the beautiful shots of the local birds as well. Take a look at this great shot of a cardinal in Ascension in East Utica. Again, one of my favorite birds, not only for the local area, but in general. Same with robins, and of course, pretty much any bird I'm also a fan of. Submit a photo like this, WKTV.com/weather/pics for your chance to have your photo featured here on News Channel 2 at sunrise every weekday. But heading back to the weather we'll be seeing tonight, at least for today, it's looking dry on the radar, but that will change as we head into the next 24 hours as a wintry mix will begin to arrive, starting out as snow, light snow initially, before switching over to sleet and freezing rain, then over to rain in areas south. There's a look at exactly how it looks in the atmosphere. I'll talk about this in more detail and mention the travel impacts straight ahead. Ben?
Eric, thank you very much. The 35th annual Salute to Outstanding Women.
New York's most dependable weather team. Here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good Friday morning, everyone. Things are winding down after a blustery and cold day yesterday, and it's still a chilly start. Some locations are near zero. In fact, our Skywatcher Inlet, Shawano Inlet reported 0 degrees, but in the Mohawk Valley, currently 18 or so degrees. Dry weather. And of course, on top of the dry weather, with the dew point so low, definitely a lot of dry air near the surface. So it's a very cool and dry air mass currently in place. And you can see here on the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar, stubborn lake effect snow is finally coming to an end after still remaining persistent during the daytime yesterday and overnight. And following that, our attention turns to yet another system. And anytime we have winter weather like this, we always try to be completely transparent with the forecast. And what we mean by completely transparent is this is a forecast that can easily bust. We were looking at the latest numbers this morning, and even then there is a sharp variation in snowfall totals based off of where that column of cool air sets up near the surface. And initially, it'll be mostly snow in the higher elevations north of the Mohawk Valley, a rain and snow ice mix in the Mohawk Valley, and then mainly rain south. And picture this, except turn it sideways. As we take a look at the precipitation types right here, and you kind of see what we mean by the column and thickness of cold air near the surface. This would be closer to the North Country, and this would be closer to the Binghamton area. And notice that when a warm air moves in, it kind of glides over the cold air and slowly erodes it as the rain and snow continues to fall. So you can see here, as you get farther to the north, it'll fall primarily as snow, but then as you head closer to the warmer area, it'll turn over to sleet, freezing rain, and then over to rain showers. And that zone of where it goes from snow to sleet is very important in who sees the most snow, which is why this is such a completely complicated forecast. But what we can tell you is the travel impacts. Today is looking pretty quiet. Overnight hours, a different story. Heavy snow, wintry mix arriving, lingering snow showers during the early morning hours, drying out by the afternoon. And we can see this system slowly continue to arrive overnight, initially as a few flurries, then heavier snow north, wintry mix moving through in that pink area right there, and rain south. But again, today you can see here dry to start, flurries beginning by around 6 or so p.m. and then overnight the heavy snow continues to arrive with temperatures in the upper 20s. Your 7-day forecast following today and tomorrow, we continue that gradual warm up into the 40s and 50s by Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. So delayed spring will be slowly arriving.
And once again, Mother Nature can't make up her mind about if she wants it to be winter or spring or fall or summer.
Yeah, I think she's probably realizing that, oh, maybe we never winter. Let's bring it back for a few days.
Yeah, let's bring it back. Yeah, great idea. Thank you very much, Eric. The Colgate University men's...
Now, the news with Ben Kinney and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning once again. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ben Kinney in for Gary.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2, meteorologist Eric Gage.
It's a cold one out there, but I think the biggest thing we're watching is the Storm Tracker 2 alert day that's been declared for tomorrow. Eric?
Yes, tonight and tomorrow is looking a little bit dicey in terms of travel, primarily north, before things turn over to a sleet, wintry mix. But if you're heading out today, you want to know about the weather for today, well, the good news is it looks to hold off until after sunset, and the worst of it until right around midnight. So, but again, look at the alert day and what we're expecting. I guess technically we could call it an alert night, but rain snow mix tonight and into Saturday. Heavy snow accumulation possible north. Rain, snow, ice mixture possible in the Mohawk Valley. This is a very close call with different types of precipitation we could be seeing depending on location. We'll talk all about the details on that coming up in a few minutes. But for now, it's 16 in Rome, but looking at a -1 degree temperature up in Saranac Lake, where those clear skies have taken place. 10 up in Watertown, and on the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar, lake effect snow continues to wind down, but for pretty much all of our local area, we are looking entirely dry. Over the next 12 or so hours, a completely dry day is expected. The winds nowhere near as strong as yesterday, which is good news for those of you who are not a big fan of the 1 to 5 degree wind chills. But we warm up to the upper 20s, low 30s. A few flurries begin to develop as we approach the evening hours, and then heavier snow arrives tonight. We'll talk about the timing, the travel impacts, and all the latest details straight ahead. Ben?
Eric, thank you very much. A months-long investigation by Candace.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Welcome back. The time now is 6:09. We're taking a look at those road conditions as you head to work today and, of course, as you head home from work. Starting out on the Munson Commute Cast, drive times right now looking pretty okay. Average speed of 60 to 65 on I-90. Arterial drive times looking pretty average. 5S Route 49. Yellows and greens there. Yellows indicating just a brief stop and go with red lights. Usually orange and reds mean that the road conditions are a little bad, but with all the dry weather taking place right now in this morning, you can see here the rest of central New York seeing average drive times. And heading to work today, no impacts are expected as roads continue to remain pretty dry, but this evening, a few flurries will start to fall in the air, but the worst of this wintry setup will arrive overnight tonight. So again, if you have any plans for today, no impacts expected to travel. We're going to talk a little bit more about the timing, the impacts when the system comes to an end straight ahead. Ben?
Eric, thank you very much. iPhone maker Apple is in hot.
From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning. Welcome back. Happy Friday, everyone. It's starting out to be a chilly but quiet start to your day today with temperatures in the teens. Some locations already near or below zero. But here in downtown Utica, it's dry with a nice shot of hopefully seeing a sunrise. We haven't really seen that too much the past few days with the unsettled weather recently. And those temperatures you can see here, 16 officially at Griffiths and Rome. Wind chill near non-existent. That was a huge difference compared to yesterday with those wind chills of well below the current temperature with 20 or so mile-per-hour winds, but today winds much more calm. Stubborn lake effect is coming to an end just off of the Great Lakes. In fact, there is lake effect off of one of the Finger Lakes taking place at this point, but of course none of that is reaching our local area. We're dry today, but our attention turns to the wintry weather tonight, and putting complete transparent here with this system. And we always try to be transparent anytime winter weather arrives. I know sometimes in media there's always a lot of hype with winter storms, and we always try to give you the straight facts. And the facts is this is a forecast that can easily bust because we've got very thin, cold air near the surface, and the exact positioning of that can greatly determine the amount of snow that reaches the ground and sticks to the ground. This is a general idea of where everything sets up. Mostly snow up north, rain still mixed in the Mohawk Valley, and trace to 3 inches with mostly rain south. And picture that, except turn it sideways as we talk about precipitation types. North country way up here, way south towards Binghamton down here in the rainy side. And notice that cold air near the surface gets more and more thick. And that determines whether we see snow, whether we see sleet, whether we see freezing rain, or entirely rain. And the exact height of this column will determine whether the snow sticks, whether it turns to sleet, whether it just melts and then freezes on contact, or again, just remains as rain. And these differences are so minor that any change in the forecast temperature near the ground and up in the air will have a huge impact on potential accumulation. So ignoring the snowfall accumulation part of this forecast, what is certain is the rough timing of this system. This evening it's looking dry. Heavy snow wintry mix arrives overnight tonight. That's the highest impact timing of this event. Then lingering snow tomorrow morning, and then we dry out a little bit by tomorrow afternoon. And to our Skycast, you can see the arrival of this system, a few light flurries this evening, then the snow picks up strength, then begins to turn into a sleet, freezing rain mix in the Mohawk Valley as rain pushes in some areas south. Then the backside of it will bring with it more cold air, additional snowfall accumulations, and then everything begins to wind down by the time we approach Saturday night. But again, over the next 12 hours, dry weather for the entire daytime today, then a few flurries possible by 6 or 7 p.m. Then the snow begins to strengthen a little bit during the overnight hours. Heavy snow and wintry mix between 11 p.m. and roughly 1 to 3 a.m. And that will continue into the early morning hours Saturday. So again, alert day for tomorrow. Then we dry out for the most part. Nothing is too concerning weather-wise over the next 7 or so days following Saturday. In fact, we warm up a little bit with highs in the upper 40s to low 50s. By next week, looking much more spring-like after this sudden surge of winter weather.
Yeah, one last hurrah, I guess.
Yes.
One last hurrah. Thank you very much, Eric. Former President Trump has until Monday.
News with Ben Kinney and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us for this half hour. I'm Ben Kinney.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2, meteorologist Eric Gage.
Big change in the weather right now. Clear skies, but that's not going to stick around, is it?
Yeah, it'll stick around for today, but not so much for tonight and tomorrow. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But this morning, heading into work, it was very cold.
Yeah, it was.
The winds were not too bad, though. That was the plus side. But again, look at those temperatures this morning. It's still a bit bitter out there, to put it lightly, in some spots. Saranac Lake, some parts of the North Country are below zero. -1 Saranac Lake, 1 degree in Old Forge from our Skywatcher Bill, 0 in Inlet from our Skywatcher Sean. And as you can see here, 16 degrees in Rome, 18 in Hamilton, with a few passing clouds and pretty dry weather on the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar. Only some very stubborn remnant lake effect flurries taking place just off of the Finger Lakes, which is passing more and more to the south. And as you were mentioning, there will be some dicey weather heading into tonight and into tomorrow. Rain snow mix into the overnight hours, heavy snow accumulation possible north, and we're tracking that rain snow ice mix possible into the Mohawk Valley. We're going to talk about the timing of this, the potential impacts, when this does come to an end, how much snow are we talking about, the forecast challenges, everything you need to know before we head out the door this morning. Straight ahead. Ben?
Eric, thank you. And don't forget the Storm Tracker 2 forecast, never more than 10 minutes away. By this
Welcome back. It's time now to showcase the weather photo of the day on this Friday, and keeping up with the theme of springtime and showing the spring birds, figured I'd show another great shot of a cardinal submitted to us in East Utica. A great shot taken right here. Male cardinal pictured to this point. If you want to submit a photo like this one, this photo will be on top of being showcased here on News Channel 2 at sunrise, submitted to our social media platforms. So if you have a great photo and you want credit to showcase your photography expertise, send it to that link on the top of your screen, wktv.com/weather/pics, for your chance for your picture to be featured right here every weekday on Sunrise and, of course, on our social media platforms. Across central New York, temperatures are still very cool out there. 1 degree Otter Lake, 3 Inlet, 9 Lake Pleasant, into the teens in the Mohawk Valley, but the winds, thankfully, are nowhere near as strong as yesterday, so we do warm up a little bit with temperatures into the upper 20s to low 30s by this afternoon. Weather continues to remain dry, but that will change as we head into tonight and tomorrow as we're tracking a wintry setup. We'll talk about all the latest details, who sees what in terms of rain, wintry mix, or snow, and when this comes to an end straight ahead. Ben?
Thank you very much, Eric. The 35th annual
Central New York's most dependable weather team. Here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning. Welcome back. Friday is here. We are entering the first weekend of spring, and it won't really look like a typical spring weekend with some of the weather we'll be seeing later tonight and early tomorrow. But this morning, a pretty nice sunrise in Oneonta from our camera atop Hartwick College. Same thing in the Mohawk Valley. A nice clear shot right there. And it's a dry start, be that a chilly one, with temperatures currently 16 in the Mohawk Valley, near and below zero in areas north. But the winds, thankfully, are no longer as strong. If the winds were strong today, those wind chills will likely be below zero in the Mohawk Valley. Yorkville Battery, Storm Tracker 2 live radar showing entirely dry conditions in the Mohawk Valley north and south, just some remnant flurries from lake effect, which is continuing to weaken more and more. But our attention turns to tonight and into tomorrow. We're going to give you all the latest details that we've been looking at either tonight and even by the early morning hours. So what we know so far, and just a heads up, being completely transparent with this forecast, this is likely going to bust in some spots. This is a high chance bust forecast because of the air near the surface. We've got a column of cool air that will be thinner and thinner as you head closer to the south, which will erode some of that the snow forming into parts of rain, sleet, and freezing rain, where most of the snow will fall in the North Country. But picture this, the North Country all the way south, but turn it sideways as we talk about the different precipitation types as we head into tonight. You can see here, North Country up here, southern valleys near Binghamton down here. And you notice how when warm air moves in, it glides over top of that cold air. And when that column of cold air is a little bit thinner, that snow turns over to sleet. It doesn't stick to the ground. So this is one of those forecasts where you don't want to pin it on the exact snow totals, more so the impacts and the visibility and the road conditions as we head during the overnight hours. And you can see here, this is a pretty certain forecast. This evening, it's looking pretty dry with a few flurries. Overnight, heavy snow and wintry mix. Lingering snow tomorrow morning, and then we gradually dry out by tomorrow afternoon. And the positioning you can see right here, starting out as a few light snow showers. That warm nose moves north just a little bit, a wintry mix in the Mohawk Valley before the backside of it brings additional snow. But over the next 12 hours, you can see here, mainly cloudy skies for today. A few flurries beginning to arrive by the late evening. And then you can see here tonight, the snow picks up with a wintry mix possible during the overnight hours following midnight. In your 7-day forecast, after the alert day for tonight and tomorrow, it's quieting down for the most part. Temperatures upper 40s, low 50s, more spring-like quiet weather as we head into the middle of next week.
Alrighty, so a little bit of a warm-up, but it's going to take some time.
Yeah, a little bit of time.
All right, we'll take it. Thank you very much, Eric. The Colgate University.
Now, the news with Ben Kinney and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ben Kinney.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2, meteorologist Eric Gage.
A lot to get to this morning, but I think the biggest story that everyone's talking about, the weather. What's going on this weekend, the system moving in. What do you guys know so far in the Weather Center?
Quiet today, no impacts for your travel, for your morning and for your evening commute. Maybe a few light flurries starting to fall by 6 or so p.m., but following that, that wintry weather begins to arrive by the overnight hours tonight.
It got colder in Saranac Lake. I just looked over your shoulder. It was 1 below
Oh,
a few
wow,
minutes
look
ago.
at
It's
that.
now 5 below.
Yeah, the other main story is it's cold out this morning.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at those current conditions. As Ben mentioned, it got a little cooler up in the North Country, -5 in Saranac Lake. How about that for the first Friday of spring? 14 in Rome, 18 Hamilton, a few clouds south, but sunshine is peeking out in the Mohawk Valley and north. A live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2, a live radar. Just a few stubborn flurries south in Shenango County, but pretty much all of our local area is entirely dry. A reminder, the alert day is for tonight and into Saturday. Rain, snow mix, heavy snow possible north, and we have that ice, rain, snow mixture possible in the Mohawk Valley during the overnight hours. And over the next 12 hours, you can see here, it's a dry start to your day today. A few flurries begin to fall between 4 and 6 p.m. Then beyond that, the snow becomes a little bit more heavy as a wintry mix follows that as that warm air surges in from the south. Then as we head into the overnight hours, heavy snow, heavy wintry mix, things wind down by tomorrow. But of course, we're going to talk about the timing, the impacts, all the latest details straight ahead. Ben?
Eric, thank you very much. A months-long investigation by
TV Tower. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning. Welcome back, everyone. Happy Friday. Today is starting out pretty quiet. As a matter of fact, we're seeing a very nice sunrise from our camera in Oneonta. A live view right there. Breathtaking shot. The only thing, though, it's a bit cold out there. Now, in some spots, temperatures are in the teens, like, for example, here in downtown Utica and in some of the Mohawk Valley. Griffiths and Rome reporting a temperature of 14 degrees. Winds are calm, though. Some spots in the North Country are looking at temperatures in the below zero range, currently -5 in Old Forge. Thankfully, the winds remain more calm today than the blustery conditions yesterday, but on the radar, things look pretty dry. This will be temporary for today as unsettled weather arrives tonight. So look at our snowfall forecast outlook. A reminder, we're going to be as transparent with this system, let you know the information that we know and all the details. And as of now, this is going to be a system that could bust either direction based off of where that warm air sets up near the surface. You can see here that warm air will begin to arrive from the south. That rain mixes in with some snow and ice and freezing rain, then over to mostly snow in the North Country. This is the general idea of the positioning of where that rain and snow sets up. This is the most likely scenario, including those snowfall totals below that right there. But if you turn that sideways and take a look at the reason why we're seeing a different type of precipitation is because picture this as the North Country, highest elevations, Adirondacks, and picture down here closer to Binghamton. And you can see as that warm air moves in, it slowly erodes the cold air near the surface. And dependent on where that warm and cold air is and how thick that column of cold air is, determines the type of precipitation we do see. For example, if the column is a little warmer, we see more rain, a little cooler, more sleet, and eventually when it's all cold, all below 32 degrees, we see all snow. And if a small sliver of warm air moves in some locations, it goes from an entirely snow event to mainly a sleet, freezing rain event, and it gets hard for snow to stick around. The certain part of the forecast is going to be the timing of this. This morning, this afternoon's dry. This evening, a few flurries falling. The worst of this, or the most impactful of this system, arrives tonight. Heavy snow, wintry mix, lingering snow tomorrow morning, and then we gradually dry out by tomorrow afternoon. And so what are our thoughts about this? Well, you can see this system begin to arrive, starting out as a few light snow showers. The snowfall rates begin to pick up, and then that snow band begins to form directly over or just north of the Mohawk Valley. That mix begins to fall in parts of the Mohawk Valley and south, and areas south of Route 20 have a better chance of seeing almost entirely rain briefly before that backside of that system brings more snow, and then we dry out by Saturday night. Over the next 12 hours, clouds and sunshine give way to flurries and heavier snow showers tonight. You can see those conditions continuing overnight into early tomorrow morning. Your 7-day forecast looking more mild by next week.
The news with Ben Kinney and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We have some active weather coming into the area. It's extremely cold outside. Meteorologist Eric Gage joins me now. Tomorrow, actually, a Storm Tracker 2 alert day because of the snow.
Yeah, snow, and not just snow. We've got freezing rain, we've got sleet, basically everything but the kitchen sink in some locations. And this is going to be a bit of a complicated forecast, but regardless of whether we see snow, sleet, freezing rain, there's going to be some tricky travel tonight and into tomorrow. But for now, let's take a look at those current conditions, a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Alive radar. We're seeing snow picked up on the radar right now, but we've got a lot of dry air near the surface, very low dew points, so none of this is reaching the ground just yet, but there is snow being reported as we take attention to Buffalo and Rochester out in western New York. Those temperatures still in the 20s for a lot of our local area. And as you turn our attention to the alert day for tonight, again, rain-snow mix tonight and into early Saturday. Heaviest snow accumulation possible north, but we are tracking the arrival of rain, snow, and ice possible in the Mohawk Valley and also elsewhere in areas south. We're fine-tuning where that mixing line is at this point. And over the next 12 hours, those temperatures do hover in the upper 20s to low 30s, a few flurries with mostly cloudy skies. Then the snow starts to pick up this evening and tonight, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Beyond midnight, that's where the strongest snow and wintry mix will be occurring. We're going to time it all out, talk about the latest snowfall forecast and when the travel impacts come to an end straight ahead. Ben?
Eric, thank you very much. Ahead of the winter storm, the Utica.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good afternoon and welcome back. It's been a cold start to the day today. Temperatures are slowly climbing into the 20s. It's still been dry. Clouds have increased a little bit. In fact, a live look at downtown Utica right now. We are looking at overcast skies. The radar is showing some light elevated snow, but with such dry air near the surface, take a look at this. Dew point of 3 degrees. That's going to prevent a lot of any of this precipitation from reaching the ground, at least for the rest of this early afternoon and into the early evening. That will change once more moisture arrives from the southwest, bringing in the dew points to be a little higher, and of course that will cause the snow to fall a little easier. A live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Alive radar. We are seeing, again, elevated light snow. This is all not reaching the ground, but I'm going to move the camera a little bit, going all the way out here to Buffalo, where there is some heavier snowfall taking place right now. This is the northernmost edge of that warm front, and below here is where all the moisture is at this point. And heading into tonight and tomorrow, this is what we're expecting regarding travel issues. We've mentioned that this forecast is very complicated regarding the amount of snow, but ignoring snowfall totals for a second, there is going to be extreme difficulty tonight and tomorrow traveling between roughly 10 to 11 p.m. tonight until around the early to mid-morning tomorrow with heavy snow wintry mix. Lingering snow tomorrow morning, and then we dry out a little bit by tomorrow afternoon. So again, this is the timeline of travel impacts. And this is the snowfall forecast, the latest one. It's trended more cold. That warm nose isn't shifting as far north as previously expected, so because of that, more snow is expected farther south. Roughly 6 to 12 inches in the dark blue area, including the Mohawk Valley and areas south, in fact, north of Route 20, areas south, a rain and ice mix of 3 to 6 inches. Any sleet that moves in will cut down on these totals, but if it sticks to entirely snow showers, this is going to be a mainly snow event in the area in dark blue. And just a reminder of precipitation types, taking a look at, for example, rain all the way over to snow, you notice that the cold air gets thinner and thinner as you get closer to freezing rain and sleet. This is how the system will arrive. Down near Binghamton, will be all this warm air. Up in, for example, near Old Forge, all this cold air. And right in the middle is where this transition line is. And areas close to the warm area will see freezing rain and then sleet. And then eventually, if the air is cold enough from the ground all the way to the cloud, we'll be seeing entirely snow showers. So real quick, looking at our SkyCast, we're seeing clouds increase this afternoon. Here comes a few flurries this evening and tonight. Then here comes the widespread snowfall across a lot of central New York, with some sleet mixing in areas south right here with some freezing rain as that warm nose tries its best to push into that cold air dam near the surface here in the Mohawk Valley and north. And this system will gradually exit by Saturday afternoon. So again, over the next 12 hours, we started out with some sunshine, chilly temperatures into the 20s, but by tonight, we're seeing those snow showers begin to develop and then continue to the overnight hours, heavy at times between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. Your 7-day forecast following today and tomorrow. We continue that gradual warm up and much less active weather by Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So the snow that we do see from this event will melt by most of next week as it gets harder and harder for that snow to stick with such a strong March sun.
Now, when that melting happens, do we have to be aware of flooding concerns?
We'll monitor that, but as of now, we don't think there'll be any flooding concerns.
All righty. Thank you very much, Eric. New research lays out the consequence. Good afternoon once again. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ben Kinney.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2, meteorologist Eric Gage.
And, well, Joe Reel was right. 100% chance for a snow day tomorrow. I think that was a gimme, though.
Yeah, and it took me a second to realize, wait, why are you saying 100% snow day tomorrow? Oh, of course, because it's
Saturday.
It's Saturday. But yeah, Joe Reel posting this on her page. Of course, she is letting her students know that it's going to be a snow day tomorrow. But right now, it's currently pretty dry out there. The radar shows that there's snow falling. Well, not quite. There's a lot of dry air near the surface at this point, so it's going to take a little bit for any of that snow to go ahead and reach the ground. But these temperatures still struggling to reach the mid-20s right here. A lot of that cold air near the surface will be causing the chance for, you guessed it, some snow heading into tonight. There's already snow falling in Rochester and Buffalo. As a matter of fact, going back here to look at the dew points, which I think should be on the next system here. But regardless, we have an alert day for tonight and into tomorrow with the potential for a rain-snow mixture tonight and into Saturday. Heavy snow possible areas north. It has shifted farther to the south with a rain-snow-ice mix possible in the Mohawk Valley and south as well. We're going to talk about the positioning of where that system is at this point and provide you with the latest information as the hours get closer. Ben?
Thank you very much. Today, the UN Security Council voted.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good afternoon and welcome back. We are tracking a low pressure system which will bring winter weather to our area tonight and cause very tricky travel during the overnight hours. Let's take a look at downtown Utica right now. There's overcast skies. They look a little bit milky too because there is snow falling, but it's way up in the sky and it's drying up before it even reaches the ground. Now, I mentioned a few minutes ago to talk about the dew point. Here it is, dew point of 3 degrees. That means that the air is very dry and it takes a while for the air to saturate with enough moisture before snow will begin to reach the ground. So for now, the conditions are primed to keep things dry for the most part. However, things will turn a little bit more active as the afternoon continues on into this evening. A live look, the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2, a live radar. Here's where the snow is falling. Again, not reaching the ground at this point. Out in western New York, a much different story. But we've mentioned over the past few days, this is a very complicated forecast, a forecast that could easily bust either direction. But what we can tell you, what we are very confident about, is there's going to be very tricky travel overnight tonight, roughly between 10 and 11 p.m. onwards to the overnight hours until the early to mid-morning tomorrow. This evening, though, it's still looking pretty okay. Tomorrow morning, lingering snow showers, still a bit dicey in some spots, and then we eventually dry out by tomorrow afternoon. And there are updates to our snowfall forecast. You can see here a pretty notable one in most of the northern area up here, 6 to 12 inches of snow. For the dark blue region, rain, snow, ice mixing in areas south, and this zone is going to wobble back and forth as we get more data and depending on where that warm nose sets up. And a reminder about different precip types, because if we talk about, for example, up in Old Forge in the snowy region now up here, and then, for example, Binghamton way south, you can see that in the warmer area, it kind of glides over the cold air set in place, and this warm air will slowly erode the cold air. And there are certain points where the snow becomes sleet and it doesn't really stick too much or becomes freezing rain. And this is the complicated part of the forecast, because on top of the potential for snowfall, there is a potential for freezing rain and sleet in other areas. So we have to mention all of these risks on top of making sure that the forecast for snow is in the right direction, which is why we're saying that this forecast can easily bust in both directions depending on where that exact warm layer goes. So in our Skycast, we can see here that snow starting to move in. Our in-house model is showing a lot more cold air present. The mixing line is farther to the south. Some ice falling in those areas down there near Cooperstown, Oneonta. Could shift as far north as Route 20 into parts of the Mohawk Valley. But again, regardless, it's going to be tricky travel overnight, and potentially dangerous travel during the overnight hours until early tomorrow morning. That's when things will wind down. And you can see here that tail end of that system coming to an end by around 10 p.m. Saturday. Completely dry weather beyond that. So you can see here this morning we had some sunshine, a chilly start. We warmed up into the upper 20s. A few flurries falling this afternoon. Then the snow will pick up tonight after sunset and then become very strong as we approach the overnight hours between 11 p.m. onwards to beyond midnight to 3 to 5 a.m. Your 7-day forecast, alert day tonight and into tomorrow. This is short-lived, though. Beyond that, we warm up slowly by next week with temperatures climbing into the upper 40s to low 50s. So a lot of the snow that we are seeing over today will eventually, or tonight and tomorrow, will eventually melt as we approach the middle of next week.
With Kristen Copeland and Jason Palace.
The calendar says spring, but Mother Nature says otherwise.
That's for sure. Winter is not done with us yet. We could be looking at an impactful snowfall over the next 24 hours, so we're going to go where else? Straight over to Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis. He's on an alert day. Bill, what can we expect?
Growing, and we do have some new information to pass along. Things have trended colder, and it's much more likely that this is going to stay all snow across central New York. The numbers have ramped up because of that. We were talking about this yesterday. It's most likely to happen in the Mohawk Valley, staying all snow, 6 to 12 inches of accumulation. We're putting the snow bands, the heaviest snow bands, east of Utica. We're thinking there could be a foot of accumulation in areas like central and northern Herkimer counties, to be north of the Mohawk Valley out towards Speculator. And there's still a likelihood that this is going to mix with sleet and freezing rain south of the Mohawk Valley. So a high impact event. Most of this happens tonight after 11 p.m. With tricky travel through early Saturday. And then things will be slowly improving as we head throughout Saturday afternoon. Winter storm warnings in effect, especially north of the Mohawk Valley. But again, the heavy accumulations we think could be in the Mohawk Valley too. Live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar. The light snow we saw earlier was the very northern part of this weather system. But again, I do stress that the heaviest accumulation will be taking place tonight. So if you're out running errands this evening, the roadway should be in pretty decent shape. It's cold out there, 24 degrees. Heading into this evening, some light snow showers. Again, the heaviest accumulation will be taking place tonight through early tomorrow. We're tracking when conditions improve, when the snow comes to an end, and that's coming up. Kristen, back to you.
Bill, thanks. News from the UK from the Princess of Wales.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
A nor'easter moves up the coast tonight, producing heavy snowfall across most of central New York. Let's take a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar. We've been getting some light snow this afternoon, a little ahead of schedule, but not really a high impact here. This storm is not expected to ramp up until closer to 11 p.m. this evening. So if you're out running errands on the roads, travel should be pretty decent. The roads are generally wet. We'll see some light snow on and off throughout the course of this evening, but there's going to be a noticeable difference between that and what happens overnight. After about 11 o'clock this evening, heavy snow arrives. Heavy snowfall rates overnight. Travel is expected to be very difficult. Through tomorrow morning, then things get better. The roads turn wet. It's still snowing on Saturday afternoon, but again, conditions will gradually improve throughout the day. Live look in downtown Utica. Again, even though we did see some light snow, the roads are generally wet. Our sky watchers are in the 20s, coming in colder than what we were expecting here, and that's why the snowfall numbers have gone up. There's a much lower chance that we're going to see any rain at all mixing in with this. In fact, we don't expect any of that to happen. Norway, 25 degrees, 29 in Worcester, 24 degrees in Westford. The storm itself has not developed yet, even though we're seeing some light snow. The main system is still to the south and east. This will move off to the Atlantic seaboard, turn into a nor'easter, and move across the eastern seaboard as we head into tomorrow. Storm Tracker 2 Skycast, again, some light snow this evening, not a big deal. But what is a big deal is what happens closer to midnight. Take a look at this. Heavy snow overnight. Bands of snow could produce 1 to 2 inches per hour, or even in some cases heavier amounts, especially east of Utica. Saturday morning, if you're heading out early in the day, it's going to be tough to get around 7 a.m., widespread heavy snow. Some of this mixes in with sleet and freezing rain, especially south of Route 20. This turns back to snow across all areas by the early afternoon. Still snowy at 1 p.m., but as temperatures climb above freezing, the impact on the roads will lessen, and we will see the snow come to an end in the mid to late afternoon. Drying conditions tomorrow night. Sunshine is out on Sunday, and we're going to start to melt this snow as we head throughout early next week as temperatures climb well above freezing. 6 to 12 inches of accumulation across the Mohawk Valley. Again, the numbers have ramped up because the air is colder and the trend is colder. I still think that a foot of snow is possible, especially east of Utica. It all depends on where those bands of heavy snow set up, and this red zone represents where we think that's going to be the case. South of the Mohawk Valley, icing is possible. That could reduce snowfall totals. 3 to 6 inches is the call here. And again, this is the area that we've highlighted for some sleet and freezing rain to take place as we head into tonight. Tonight, heavy snow, low of 23. Travel very tricky after midnight. Travel tricky through Saturday morning. Conditions improve very slowly throughout the day, a high of 33. Lots of melting snow as we look ahead. Sunday, sunshine, beautiful, 39 degrees, 46 on Monday, mostly sunny skies, up to 51 Tuesday. Our next weather system bringing rain. Looking ahead to Wednesday and Thursday. We'll be right back.
With Jason Palace.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We'll get to those stories in a minute. First, we are tracking an alert day. Chief Meteorologist Bill Cardis with the possibility of a foot of snow in some areas. He joins us now as he continues this alert day. And we're not saying everyone's going to get a foot, but there's a possibility this could do that to most of the viewing area.
Yeah, and the thing is, I've been keeping tabs on how things have been trending lately, and we are all in on snow here in the Mohawk Valley. We think that there will be very little mixing with this forecast. Let's take a look at the snowfall map here. Since yesterday, the numbers have come up. Since earlier today, the numbers have come up, especially for areas east of Utica. We outlined this zone from areas north and east of Utica, just north of Little Falls, 12 inches or more. We think this is where the heaviest band of snow is going to set up tonight. South of the Mohawk Valley, there's a high likelihood that there's going to be ice mixing in areas like Chenango and Otsego County, so we did trim back the snowfall totals here. But the bottom line is several inches of snow. Since we really haven't had much of a winter, this could easily be the biggest storm of the year, which is pretty incredible to say on March 22nd. Here's a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar. The snow is starting to move in from the south, the heavier snow. Saw lighter snow earlier today, but this is going to ramp up as we head into tonight. Heavy snow is going to be occurring over the next couple of hours, and that will continue through tomorrow. Current temperature is 25 degrees, plenty cold for snow here in the Mohawk Valley. Temperatures will stay in the 20s overnight. We're tracking when the snow comes to an end and how the road conditions will play out over the next 24 hours, and that's coming up. Jason, back to you.
Thank you, Bill. Catherine, Princess of Wales.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Good evening. We are tracking widespread heavy snow moving in from the south. This is a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar. Snow is beginning to break out across the southern valleys, and it will become heavier pretty quickly as we head into tonight. Travel is going to become very, very tricky as we head past midnight tonight. And if you are traveling overnight into Saturday morning, again, expect difficult traveling conditions throughout the entire area with snow and ice accumulating. Tomorrow morning, a tough go too, especially early. We'll have lingering snow throughout the morning into the early afternoon. But the roads turn wet and conditions greatly improve as we head throughout Saturday. Temperatures climb above freezing, and the March sun becomes a major factor in cleaning off the roads. That is the big difference this time of the year. So again, it looks like it'll be tough to get around for tonight and early tomorrow, and then things do get better. Live look in downtown Utica. Things look quiet for now. The roads are dry, or wet, I should say, from what we had earlier today. We're tracking this nor'easter that's finally developing, getting its act together. The storm itself is going to move off the Atlantic coast and track to the north and east. So this is going to be a process, but again, with the cold weather in place, I have no concerns about this being mostly snow for the Mohawk Valley and North Country. Tonight, periods of snow, heavy at times. There will be some banding of snow that could produce snowfall rates between about 2 to 3 inches an hour, especially east of Utica. There will also be mixing. The mixing layer gets as far north as Otsego County, sleet, freezing rain with some heavy ice accumulation possible in Otsego County. This turns back over to snow on Saturday morning as the low heads to the east, colder air works in. Still snowing at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but again, road conditions will gradually improve. The snow officially winding down in the late afternoon to early evening. Clearing out tomorrow night, cold, and the sun comes out on Sunday. We'll start the process of melting all this snow beginning Sunday afternoon. Snowfall totals, again, this is leaning towards the all-snow scenario for the Mohawk Valley and North Country. 6 to 12 inches of accumulation, 12 inches or more possible. This is the zone that we've highlighted for some of those heavier bands. The southern valleys, we cut these areas down in snowfall totals because we think there's going to be ice involved across Otsego County, limiting snowfall totals. There could be some pretty significant icing accumulation, especially in eastern Otsego County, heading towards the Catskills. Again, highlighting the ice potential. Again, areas south and east of Utica could see a significant accumulation. Heavy snow tonight, low of 23. Tomorrow, snow in the morning. Snow continues throughout the day, but again, roads do improve with high temperatures in the 30s. Storm Tracker 2 7-day forecast. Sunshine on Sunday, 39. Lots of melting snow. Temperatures will warm into the 40s Monday, 50s Tuesday and Wednesday. The next weather maker will bring us rain as we head into Wednesday afternoon.
Fun times. Gonna
Yes.
drive home for tonight.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, thanks, Bill. Coming up next, the